This is a preface to this video. I want to note that this was recorded as a stream. However, recording software dropped all of the frames. So the whole thing became one solid single frame video. And so I've converted it to just an audio recording with still images. Hello. Okay, this is the Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum. I'm reading from Norton's Ordinall, which is the first book the first work contained herein, containing the Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum, containing several poetical pieces of our famous English philosophers who have written the Hermetic mysteries in their own ancient tongue, faithfully collected into one volume with annotations thereon by Elias Ashmole, Esquire. So I've actually got a print copy in which I can quickly reference, and it's got a few sections in it. Well, they exist in these online scan versions, and two notable sections at the back are the table explaining. There we go. Table explaining obscure, obsolete, and misspelled words used throughout this work. It's like an English. It's an Old English to Middle English, or middle to more contemporary English translation of difficult words, followed by the very last printed page in the book. It's like an errata. So I've gone through and I've made notes a few times on errata things. And now begins the Ordinal of Alchemy, written by Thomas Norton of Bristol. All right, so here's my smaller version of the screen. And I also have a document here that's showing the Latin, some cases of Latin words that show up in the illustrations, and some of the translations of difficult words. So, like, for example, auctor is author, creator, maker, founder. Nas was not. Nathless is nevertheless. Ne, not. Nice. If you see the word nice is used, it means ignorant, foolish, fool, sluggard, sluggish, absurd, primitive, self-indulgent. Faut is wanting or lacking. Lay and jape, jeft is vet by abuse, drawn into a more wanton. I didn't get a clean version of that because it was the words in the actual edition that I have are difficult. Okay, so what I mean is it's an OCR production, so that means it's not as clean and nice looking as what's on the screen here. Photographic scans. Lay means law or song. Let means hinder. Lease or leasing means lie or lying or lies. Lewd means ignorant. Let's see here. Maestry means mastery, power, control. Mote means might, as in I might do something or I might not. Nold or nold, could not. Panims, pagan, heathen, that's earlier on in the chapter 1. Sans pair is without fellow, without equal. Selcouth, marvelous, miraculous. Trust. Trode, tros is trust, supposed to. Vain, act of penitence. Wit, understanding. Wile, deceit. Wist, substance or stuff. Ween is thought or doubt. Weaning is thinking. Ewis is verily, truly, etc. Now there's also these pieces. Okay, I'm also going to go over the chapters in the Ordinal of Alchemy. Chapter 1 The men that teach alchemy, to what manner of people should be taught, and why the true science of alchemy is of old fathers called blessed and holy. Chapter 2, and more which I might read, are the foolish joys and the great pain of alchemy. Chapter 3, for the love of one, this chapter discloses the matters of our stone, which the Arabs called elixir, and the reader will understand of what it is made. Chapter 4 teaches the greatness and terribleness of the work, not kindly for a clerk, with great perils and many failures. Chapter 5 is on subtle work, which God set aside only for a clerk, and very few actual clerks can comprehend it. Therefore, to very few men in alchemy is alchemy made known. Chapter 6 on concord with love between opposites, low natures and heavenly spheres, of what true knowledge advances greatly, clerks and causes advancement. I was partially copying it directly out of the introduction of Norton's Ordinal. Yeah. So, and then chapter 7 is the doubtful regiments of all your fires and of its true teaching. Now, let's see, that's basically what he wrote. So, chapter 2 begins. Chapter 2. Normandy nourished a monk of late, which deceived men of every state. But before that done, he in his fantasy weened he had caught this art fully. Such rejoicing thereof he had, that he began to dote and to be mad. Of whose joys, albeit they were small, for an ensample I write this tale. This monk had walked about in France, ranging apostado in his pleasance, and after he came into this land, willing men should understand how that of alchemy he had the ground, by a book of receipts which he had found. In surety thereof he set all his mind, some noble act to leave behind, whereby his name should be immortal, and his great fame in laud perpetual. And oft he mused where to begin to spend the riches that he should win. And ever he thought, lo, this I can, where might I find some trusty man, which would accord now with my will, and help my purpose to fulfill. Then would I make upon the plain of Salisbury, glorious to be seen, 15 abbeys in a little while, 1 abbey in the end of every mile. Hereupon this monk to me resorted, of trust, he said, which men of me reported, his foresaid mind he did to me tell, and prayed me to keep his great counsel. I said before an image of St. James that I would never disclose his name, yet I may write without all vice of his desires that were so nice. When he had discovered his great cunning, he said he thoughted nothing but a great mean for his solace, to labor to the king's good grace, to get license of his estate and of his lords mediate. There we go, so you can read that. There's the fouted was there. For want of lack, going back one, he wanted nothing. He said that he wanted nothing but a good average for his solace, his peace, to labor to the king's good grace, to get license of his estate, and of his lords mediate, to purchase land for the abbeys aforesaid, for which all cost should be well paid. But yet he had great doubt and fear, how to purchase, of whom and where. When I had heard of this great work, I searched to wit what manner of clerk he was, and what he knew of school, and therein he was but a fool. Yet I suffered, and held me still, more to learn of his lewd will. Then said I, it were a lewd thing such matter to show unto the king, but if the proof were reasonable, he would think it a foolish fable. The monk said how that he had in fire a thing which should fulfill his desire, whereof the truth within 40 days, wherein the truth within 40 days. I'm going to rewind. The monk said how that he had in fire a thing which should fulfill his desire, whereof the truth within 40 days I should well know by true assays. Then I said, I would no more that tide, but 40 days, I said, I would abide. When 40 days were gone and past, the monk's craft was clean overcast. Then all his abbeys and all his thought was turned to a thing of naught. And as he came, he went full lewd, departing in a mind full shrewd, for soon after, within a little while, many true men did he beguile, and afterwards went into France. Lo, this was a pitiful chance, that 15 abbeys of religion should in this wise fall to confusion. Great wonder was what thing he meant, and why he set all his intent abbeys to build. Then was it wonder, why nold he live obedient under, but be apostata and range about, this blessed science to find out. But, as I wrote above in this book, let no deceiver after this science look. Another example is good to tell, of one that trusted to do as well as Raymond Lully or Bacon the friar, wherefore he named himself Saint Père. He was parson of a little town, not far from the city of London, which was taken for half a leech, but little cunning had he to preach. He weened him sure this art to find, his name he would have ever in mind, by means of a bridge, imagined in dotage, to be made over Thames for light passage, whereof should grow a common ease, all the country thereabout to please. Yet though he might that work fulfill, it might in no wise suffice his will. Wherefore he would set up in height that bridge for a wonderful sight, with pinnacles gilt, shining as gold, a glorious thing for men to behold. Then he remembered of the new, how greater fame should him pursue, if he might make that bridge so bright that it might shine also by night, and so continue and not break. Then all the Lund of him would speak. But in his mind ran many a doubt, how he might bring that work about. He trewed that lamps with lights of fire should well perform his nice desire, wherefore lamps for that intent he would ordain sufficient. But then he fell in full great dread, how after the time that he were dead, that light to find men would refuse, and change the rent to some other use. Then thought he well is him that wist, in whom he might set all his trust. At that last he thought to make the light for that bridge to shine by night with carbuncle stones, to make men wonder, with double reflection above and under. Then new thoughts troubled his mind, carbuncle stones how he might find, and where to find wise men and true, which would for his intent pursue, in seeking all the world about, plenty of carbuncles to find out. For this he took so mickle thought, that his fat flesh wasted nigh to naught. And where he trusted without despair, and where he of this science to have and where he trusted without despair of this science to have been here, When the year was fully come and go, his craft was lost, and thrift also. For when that he took up his glass, there was no matter for gold nor brass. Then he was angry, and well near would, for he had wasted away his good. In this wise ended all his disport. What should I more of him report? But that laymen and clerks in schools may know the dotage of these two fools, remember this example where you go. For in such mind be truly many more. They lewdly believe every conclusion, be it never so false an illusion. If it in book written they may find, they ween it true, they be so lewd of mind. Such lewd and hasty confidence causeth poverty and lewd expense of trust. Of this art riseth joys nice, for lewd hope is fool's paradise. The true taught children make this confession: Lord, without thee all is digression. I'm going to read that again. The true taught children make this confession: Lord, without thee all is digression. For as thou art of our science beginning, so without thee may be no good ending. Now we have the Latin. It says, Confiteor altissime nullis iste repit, lecis prius didicit, absque tel nil sapit, nam tanta stata gratia te Deum semper apud, perficere sicut capere, nam finis es et caput. I confess, Most High, no one takes or steals these things, although he has learned before, nothing is wise without you. For so great grace stands always before you, God, to complete as you may grasp, for you are the end and the head, the beginning. As of the joys of this art ye have seen, so shall you now hear from some deal of the pain, albeit contrary to the appetite of them that hath to this science delight. Read that again. As of the joys of this art ye have seen, so shall you now hear some deal of the pain, albeit contrary to the appetite of them that hath to this science delight. The first pain is to remember in mind how many seeken, and how few do find, and yet no man may the science win, but it be taught him before that he begin. He is well learned, and of full clear wit, which by teaching can surely learn it. Of many diversities he must be sure, which secrets would know of working nature. Yet teaching may not surely avail, but that sometime shall hap a man to fail, as all that now dead and gone failed before thee found our stone. One time or other, first time or last, all men failed till true practice were past. No man sooner faileth in heat and cold, then doth a master which hasty is and bold. For no man sooner may our work spill than he that is presuming his purpose to fulfill. But he that shall truly do the deed, he must use providence, and ever work with dread. For of all pains the most grievous pain is for one fail to begin all again. Every man shall great pain have, when he shall first this art covet and crave. He shall oft times change his desire with new tidings, which he shall hear, his counsel shall oftentimes him beguile. For that season he dreadeth no subtle wile. And oftentimes his mind to and fro, with new opinions he shall change in woe, and so long time continue in fantasy, a great adventure for him to come thereby. So of this art be ye never so fain, yet he must taste of many a bitter pain. Of pains yet I must show more, against your appetite, though it be full sore. It is great pain, as all wise men guess, to wit where a true master is. And if you find him, it will be pain of his true love to be certain. For as much as no man may teach but one of the making of our delicious stone, albeit ye find him that will ye teach, yet much trouble and pains may ye reach. For if your mind be virtuously set, then the devil will labor you to let. In 3 wises to let he will await, with haste, with despair, and with deceit. For dread of virtue which you may do, when you should attain this grace unto. The first peril aforesaid is of haste, which causeth most destruction and waste. All auctors writing of this art say haste is of the devil's part. The little book writ of the philosopher's feast saith, Omnis feltinatio ex parte diaboli est. Wherefore that man shall soonest speed, which with great leisure wisely will proceed, upon a say ye shall truly know, that who most hasteth, he truly shall be slow. For he with haste shall bring his work arrear, sometimes a month, and sometimes a whole year. And in this art it shall ever be so, that a hasty man shall never fail of woe. Also of haste you may truly be sure that she leaveth nothing clean and pure. The devil hath none so subtle wile, as with hastiness you to beguile. Therefore oft times he will assault your mind with haste to make default. He shall find grace in town and land, which can hastiness all times withstand. I say all times, for in one point of time, haste may destroy all your engine. Therefore all haste eschew and fear, as if that she a devil were. My wit truly cannot suffice. Haste sufficiently for to despise. Many men have been cast in great care, because they would not of haste beware, but ever call upon to see an end, which is temptation of the fiend. No more of haste at this present, but blessed be ever the patient. When with haste the fiend hath no avail, then with despair your mind he will assail, and oft present this sentence to your mind. How many seeken, and how few may find? Of wiser men than ever were ye, what surety then to you may be? He will move ye to doubt also, whether your teacher had it or no, and also how it might so fail, or it might so... I'm going to read that again. He will move ye to doubt also, whether your teacher had it or no, and also how it might so fail or fall. That part he taught you, but not all. Such uncertainty he will cast out, to set your mind with grievous doubt, and so your pains he will repair with one hope and with much despair. Against this assault there is no defense, but only the virtue of confidence, to whom reason should you lead, that you shall have no cause to dread. If you wisely call to your mind the virtuous manners, such as you find in your master and your teacher, so shall you have no need to fear. If you consider all circumstances about, whether he taught you for love or for doubt, or whether the motion of him began, for it is hard to trust such a man. For he that proffereth hath more need of you than you of him to speed. This wise certainly ye may well win, before that you your works do begin. When such certainty ye truly have, from despair you may be sure and save. But who can find such a master out? As was my master, him needeth not to doubt, which right noble was and fully worthy laud. Read that again. But who can find such a master out? As was my master, him needeth no doubt, not to doubt, which right noble was and fully worthy laud. He loved justice, and he abhorred fraud. He was full secret when other men were loud, loath to be known that hereof aught he could. When men disputed of colours of the rose, he would not speak, but keep himself full close. To whom I laboured long and many a day, but he was sullen to prove with straight assay, to search and know of my disposition, with manifold proofs to know my condition. And when he found unfeigned fidelity in my great hope, which yet nothing did see, at last I conquered by grace divine his love which did to me incline. Wherefore he thought soon after on a tide that longer delays I ne should abide. My manifold letters, my heavy heart and cheer, moved his compassion, they pierced him full near. Wherefore his pen he would no more refrain, but as here followeth, so wrote he again. My very trusty, my dear beloved brother, I must you answer, it may be none other. The time is come, you shall receive this grace to your great comfort and to your solace. Your honest desire with your great confidence, your virtue proved with your sapience, your love, your truth, your long perseverance, your steadfast mind shall your desire advance. Wherefore it is need that within short space we speak together and see face to face. If I should write, I should my fealty break. Therefore mouth to mouth I must needs speak. And when you come, mine heir unto this art I will you make, and from this land depart. You shall be both my brother and mine heir of this great secret, whereof clerks despair. Therefore thank God, which giveth this renown, for it is better than to wear a crown. Next after his saints our Lord doth him call, which hath this art, to honour him withal. No more to you at this present tide, but hastily to see me dispose you to ride. This letter receiving, I hasted full sore, to ride to my master 100 miles and more, and there 40 days continually I learned all the secrets of alchemy. Albeit philosophy by me was understood as much as of many other in this land, nevertheless fools which for their science sought ween that in 40 days it will be wrought. Between 40 days' work, now, you may see, and 40 days' learning is great diversity. Then dark doubts to me appeared pure. There found I disclosed the bonds of nature. The cause of wonders were to me so fair and so reasonable that I could not despair. If your master and ye resemble all about my good master and me, then have ye no doubt. The third impediment deceit we call, amongst other to me the worst of all, and that is of servants that should await upon your work, for some can much deceit. Some be negligent, some sleeping by the fire, some be ill-willed, such shall let your desire. Some be foolish, some be overbold, some keep no counsel of doctrine to them told. Some be filthy of hands and of sleeves, some meddling strange matter that greatly grieves. Some be drunken, and some use much to jape. Beware of these, if you will hurt, escape. The true be foolish, the witty be false, that one hurts me sore, that other else. For when I had my work well wrought, such stale it away and left me not. Then I, remembering the cost, the time, and the pain, which I should have to begin again, with heavy heart, farewell, adieu, said I will no more of alchemy. But how that chance befell that season, few men would believe it by reason, yet 10 persons be witness true all, how that mishap did me befall, which might not be only by man, without the devil, as they tell can. I made also the elixir of life, which me bereft a merchant's wife. The quintessence I made also, with other secrets many more, which sinful people took me fro, to my great pain and much more woe. So in this work there is no more to say, but that every joy is meddled with his pain. Of pain there is a little yet behind, which is convenient to be had in mind, that fell upon a blessed man, whereof the truth report I can. Thomas Dalton, this good man hight, he served God both day and night. Of the red medicine he had great store, I true never English man had more. A squire for the body of King Edward, whose name was Thomas Harbard, took this Dalton against his desire out of an abbey in Gloucestershire, and brought him in presence of the king, whereof de Lewis had some tiding, for Dalton was Willem de Lewis's clerk. De Lewis disclosed of Dalton's work. Now, Willem, it means erewhile or sometimes, for Dalton was sometimes de Lewis's clerk. De Lewis disclosed of Dalton's work. De Lewis was squire in confidence with King Edward, oft in his presence. De Lewis reported that in a little stound means time, moment. De Lewis reported that in a little stound, how Dalton had made to him 1,000 pound of as good gold as the royal was, within half a day, and some deal less, for which de Lewis swear on a book. Then Dalton on de Lewis cast his look, and said to de Lewis, Sir, you be forswore, wherefore your heart hath cause to be sore. Of nothing, said he, that I now have told, witness our Lord whom Judas sold. But once, said de Lewis, I swear to thee that thou shouldst not be uttered by me, which I may break well, I understand, for the king's weal and for all his land. Then said Dalton full soberly, This answer voideth no perjury. How should the king and you have confidence, your untruth confessed in his presence? But, sir, said Dalton to the king's grace, I have been troubled oft in many a place for this medicine, grievously and sore, and now I thought it should hurt me no more. Wherefore in the abbey where I was take, I cast it in a foul and common lake, going to the river, which doth ebb and flow. There is destroyed as much riches now as would have served to the Holy Land, for 20,000 men upon a band. I kept it long for our Lord's blessed sake, to help a king which that journey would make. Alas, Dalton, then said the king, it was foully done to spill such a thing. He would have Dalton to make it again. Dalton said it might not be certain. Why? Said the king. How came you thereby? He said, by Canon of Lichfield truly, whose works Dalton kept diligently, many years till that canon must die. And for his service, he said that in that space the canon gave him all that thereof was. The king gave to Dalton marks 4, with liberty to go where he would that hour. Then was the king in his heart sore, that he had not known Dalton before. And ever it happeneth, without leasing, that tyrants be full nigh to a king. For Herbert lay for Dalton in wait, and brought him to Sepney with deceit. The servants of Herbert the money took away, which the king gave to Dalton that day, and after Herbert carried Dalton far from thence to the castle of Gloucester, there was Dalton prisoner full long. Herbert to Dalton did mickle wrong. From thence he had him to prison fast, to try till 4 years were nigh past. And after he brought him out to die, Dalton to death obeyed lowly, and said, Lord Jesu, blessed thou be. Methinks I have been too long from thee. A science thou gavest me with full great charge, which I have kept without outrage. I found no man yet up thereto to be mine heir when I am go. Wherefore, sweet Lord, now I am fain to resign this thy gift to thee again. Then Dalton made devout prayers, and still with smiling cheer he said, Now do your will. When Herbert saw him so glad to die, then ran water from Herbert's eye. For prison nor death could him not avail to win this art. His craft did him fail. Now let him go, said Herbert then, for he shall never hurt nor profit man. But when Dalton from the block should rise, he looked forth in full heavy wise, and so departed with full heavy cheer. It was not his will to live 1 year. This was his pain, as I you tell, by men that had no dread of hell. Herbert died soon after in his bed, and De Lewis at Tewkesbury lost his head. This wise great pain, as you may see, followeth this art in every degree. Here lost the king all his intent, for Herbert was proud and violent, so noble a man to oppress with pride, and like a felon him lead and guide. Where that by goodness, patience, and grace, there might have grown full great solace, as well to the king you may understand, as for the ease of commons of this land. But wonder not that grace do not fall, for sin reigneth in this land over all. Lo, here was graceful ready at hand to have ceased taxes and tallages of this land, whereby much love and grace would have been, between knighthood, priesthood, and commonalty. Here you may see how vicious violence may not purchase the virtue of sapience. For vice and virtue be things contrary. Therefore the vicious may not come thereby. If vicious men might learn this science, they would therewith do wondrous violence, and with ambitiousness grow evermore worse of conditions than they were before. Now is this chapter of joy and pain gone, The chapter following showeth matters of our stone. Chapter 3. Tonsil was a labourer in the fire, 60 years and more to win his desire. Brian was another, with Holton in the west. These were ever busy and could practice with the best. But yet the science they never found, for they knew not the matters ne the ground. But rumbled forth, and evermore they sought, they spent their life and their goods to naught. Much loss, much cost, much anguish they bought, among their receipts which they had wrought. Then made Tonsil to me his great complaint. With weeping tears he said his heart was faint, for he had spended all his lusty days in false receipts and in such lewd assays of herbs, gums, of roots, and of grass. Many kinds by him assayed was, as crowfoot, celandine, and miserion, vervain, lunara, and martagan. In antimony, arsenic, honey, wax, and wine, in hair, in eggs, in myrds, and urine, in calx vive, sandifer, and vitriol, in marcafits, tutits, and every mineral, in malgams, in blanchers, in citrinations, all fell to naught in his operations. For he considered not how he did rage, when to God's proportions he laid surcharge. After all this, he thought nothing so good to work upon as should be man's blood. Till that, I said, how blood would waste and fume, in mighty fire and utterly consume. For Christ his love, then, said he, teach me, whereof the substance of our stone should be. Tonsil, said I, what should it you avail such thing to know? Your limbs doth you fail for very age. Therefore cease your lay, and love your beads. It is high time to pray. For if you knew the materials of our stone, ere you could make it, your days would be gone. Thereof no charge, good master, said he. It were sufficient comfort now to me to know the true materials without wrong of that stone which I have sought so long. Tonsil, said I, it is no little thing whereof you would have true tiding. For many auctors write of this doubt, but none of them showeth it clearly out. For auctors which of this art do write, besought God, as witnesseth Democrite, that he unpained would for this world take their souls, whom he taught books thereof to make, for greatly doubted evermore all such, that of this science they may write too much. Every each of them taught but one point or twain, whereby his fellows were made certain, how that he was to them a brother. For every of them understood each other. Also they wrote not every man to teach, but to show themselves by a secret speech. Trust not therefore to reading of one book, but in many auctors' works ye may look. Liber librum apparit, saith Arnold, the great clerk. Anaxagoras said the same for his work. Who that slothful is in many books to see, such one in practice prompt shall never be. But Tonsil, for alms I will make no store, plainly to disclose it, that never was done before, by way of answer for your recreation, if ye can wisely make interrogation. Good master, said he, then teach me truly whether the matters be Sol or Mercury, or whether of Sol or Lune it may be, or whether I shall take them all three, or Sol by itself, or Mercury alone, or sulphur with them, for matters of our stone, or whether I shall sell ammoniac take, or mineral means, our stone thereof to make. Here be many questions, Tonsil, said I, wisely remembered, and full craftily. You name it not yet, but only in general, for you must take some deal of these things all. Of these and of other you must take a part, one time or other to minister this art. Many things helpeth to apt our stone, but two be minerals, yet our stone is one, between which two is such diversity as between the mother and the child may be. Of other diversity between them find ye shall, such as is found between male and female. These two kinds shall do all your service, as for the white work, if you can be wise. One of these kinds a stone ye shall find, for it abideth fire, as stones do by kind. But it is no stone in touching, nay in sight, but a subtle earth, brown, ruddy, and not bright. And when it is separate, and brought to his appearage, then we name it our ground litharge. First it is brown, ruddy, and after some deal white, then it is called our chosen marcasite. 1 ounce thereof is better than 50 pound. It is not to be sold in all Christian ground. But he that would have it, he shall be fain to do it make, or take himself the pain. But one great grace in that labour is saying, make it once well, and never more again. Old fathers called it thing of vile price, for it is not worth by way of merchandise. No man that findeth it will bear it away, no more than they would an ounce of clay. Men will not believe that it is of high price. No man knoweth it, therefore, but he be wise. Here I have disclosed a great secret wonder, which never was writ by them which been earth under.
Another stone tonsil you must have withal, or else you fought your chief material, which is a stone glorious, fair, and bright, in handling a stone, and a stone in sight. A stone glittering with perspicuity, being of wonderful diaphanity. The price of an ounce, conveniently, is 20 shillings, or well near there be. Her name is Magnetia. Few people her know. She is found in high places as well as in low. Plato knew her property, and called her by her name, and Chaucer rehearseth how Titanos is the same, in the Canon's Yeoman's Tale, saying what is thus, but quid ignotum per magis ignotius, that is to say, what may this be, but unknown by more unknown named is she. Nevertheless, tonsil, now I will truly teach what is magnetia, to say in our speech. Magos is Greek, mirabile in Latin it is, aes is money, eikos science, is God ewis. That is to say, it is such a thing, wherein of money is wondrous divine cunning. Now here you may know what is magnetia. Res aris in qua latet scientia divinic mara. These 2 stones, tonsil, you must take, for your materials, elixir if you make. Albeit the first time materials be no more, yet many things helpeth, as I said before. This secret was never before this day so truly discovered. Take it for your pay. I pray God that this turn not me to charge, for I dread so my pen goeth too large. For though much people perceive not this sentence, yet subtle clerks have too much evidence. For many clerks be so clear of wit, if they had this ground they were sure of it. Where our Lord hath ordained that no man it find, but only he that is of virtuous mind, wherefore old fathers covered for great reason the matters of our stone disclosed at this season. Other materials ye shall none take, but only these 2, our white stone to make, except sal ammoniac with sulphur of kind, such as out of metals ye can find. These 2 will abide to fulfill your desire, the remnant will void when they come to fire. Sulphur will brenn and change colours fast, but our letharge abideth first and last. You may not with metals or quicksilver begin to make elixir if you intend to win. Yet if you destroy the whole composition, some of their compounds will help in conclusion, and that is nothing else of that one or that other, but only magnetia and litharge her brother.